All right, today we're hitting shoulders in one of the most painful ways possible, giant sets. I recently threw these in the last couple workouts. I haven't been this sore in a long time. And I know, soreness is not a 100% indication of growth, but it sure as hell lets you know that you're not half-assing it anymore. Let's get after it. There's several ways you can do giant sets. It's really just 4 exercises, back to back to back to back. You can hit just different muscles. You can focus on the same muscle group and hit it in different areas. Or if you're sadistic like me, you can single out one muscle and just destroy it. So what we're gonna do is set up a separate giant set for front, side, and rear delts, all really high reps, 3 sets of each. This is gonna hurt. I recently did this with legs and somebody came up halfway through and they're like, hey, I love your channel. And I was just toast. I just looked at him. I had no idea. I was out of it. We're starting over that lateral head, so we're gonna go heavy partials at the bottom of the movement, regular side laterals, and then partials at the top of the movement, then hopping over here. And then we're gonna do a wide grip upright row. So if you're playing along at home, let's run through these. The partials at the bottom of the movement, don't treat that like a side lateral you're cutting in half because I don't want that same movement. I don't want that bend with your elbows. Straighten those arms out. Once you feel like you're just locking those elbows out and pushing those dumbbells away from you and letting that lateral head, when it's done flexing, that stops the contraction. You shouldn't go any higher, shouldn't force it up anymore. The traditional side laterals are really about preference. Just try to find what you connect with the most. For me, I tilt that head forward a little bit, bring those traps out of it, and bring those dumbbells in front. That way I can pull them up a little bit more and pull back just a hair as I'm coming up. Just have a better connection with those. With the partials at the top, there's a couple ways you can do these. I just chose to make the top of the movement parallel, drop a little lower, and then flex it back up. Make sure you're not bouncing it back up, but by this point, you're probably gonna be bouncing. With the delt focus upright rows, make sure you grab wide enough so you're not pulling into those traps. Make sure the hands are nice and wide, pulling up. The elbow should be a perfect right angle. And then I also find tilting a little bit forward will help keep it out of those traps as well. All right, the next giant sets are for rear delts. Starting out with a standing bent over rear delt fly, then to more of an isolated lying rear delt fly, then a tilted rotation, and then the most underutilized barbell exercise for rear delts there is. So if you're still playing along and you haven't quit because you pissed a little blood or you threw up this morning's McGriddle, let me go over the exercises. So with the standing rear delt flies, same thing applies that did to the standing regular side laterals. Just do what you feel the most. I would play around with your grip, go from neutral, pronated, even supinated sometimes has a great connection to it. Also the path. Some people feel great just going right out to the side. Some people need to change that arc and kind of come out and then wrap around their body a little bit. With the lying partials for the rear delts, big note there is make sure you tilt that head forward as you're laying down. Don't arch that neck back and flex those traps. That'll make them take over the entire movement. For those tilted rotations, make sure you keep it fairly light because you want to be able to drive that force into your rear delt. So tucking those elbows into your side, touch those hands together, and then rotate them around and let that rear delt pull the weight around. And you're gonna have a similar thought process with that barbell movement. Trying to keep that back nice and flat and feel like those rear delts are pulling that bar up and over your ass. If you got a fat ass like I do, good luck. If you made it this far in the workout, congratulations, you're a pretty sick human being. You're way beyond the point of peeing blood. You should be pissing all sorts of different colors by this point. And that's not even a joke. One of the few jobs I had was at a supplement store because obviously I'm unemployable. Nobody should ever hire me. And I was sitting there, some kid came in, he goes, hey, I bought this like 2 weeks ago. And a week ago, I was like pissing blood. And I wasn't too worried, but recently I started pissing rainbow colors. You think I should stop taking it? So let me get this straight. You peed blood, that wasn't a red flag, but when you started pissing what appeared to be a bowl of Fruit Loops, that bothered you? All right, all we got left is front delts. We're gonna hop on the cable machine, doing front raises with the rope attachment, and then grab a plate, doing rotations, raises, presses. After this, if your parents aren't proud of you, they never will be. First thing, those front raises with the rope, I find it better just to tilt a little forward. If you're straight up and down, by the time you get to your legs, those traps want to jump in, flex, and just take over the movement. So tilt a little forward, it'll keep in those anterior delts. With the rotations, about the halfway point, I try to have that arm take over the entire movement, sometimes even drop my arm on that, and just let that arm control the entire thing, hold the weight a second, then grab that other hand underneath, pick it up, and then that one takes over the movement. I just find it puts a lot more pressure on those delts and really just burns them out a lot quicker. With the front raise, I'm trying to isolate as much anterior delt as possible. So grabbing really low in there, hands close together, and try to keep those elbows tucked in so it's more of the anterior delt, less of that lateral head jumping in. With the presses, you're just trying to force as much blood as possible. So I find that tilting a little forward and driving those elbows back a little further, getting closer to a lockout, is gonna push so much more blood in there. If you like that, here's another video on shoulders. Also just another one of my favorites. Most importantly, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and as always, get after it, get growing. Talk to you soon.